everybody. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We are really excited. We are here to do our third annual holiday film podcast, our holiday favorite films. And Joe Tufano is here with me.
Hey, Rachel, and hey, everybody at Rachel's channel. Merry Christmas. Rachel, thank you for having me here once again. I'm just amazed that we've gotten to round 3, and I have to admit that coming up with a list this time was a lot harder than I anticipated.
Yeah, it really was, because so if you're wondering, like, where is It's a Wonderful Life or where is whatever, it's because we've already done those, and I'll put links down to the previous videos. Those will be those were live, so they're a little bit longer than this will be since this is edited. And but I think they're still fun, a lot of fun. And so yeah, we've already done, I'll just read off the list of the ones we've already talked about, with Arthur Christmas, Charlie Brown Christmas, Scrooge 1951, Die Hard, It's a Wonderful Life, White Christmas, The Polar Express, Christmas Story, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Home Alone 1 and 2, Die Hard 2, Muppets Christmas Carol, While You Were Sleeping, Arthur's Perfect Christmas, Christmas on Sesame Street, Christmas Time Again, It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown, Meet Me in St. Louis, and Miracle on 34th Street.
Long list, and I was actually watching the other night, or I think it was last night. Yeah.
Let's get right to it. This is very fun. We each have 5 films on our list. These are not in ascending order. They're just 5 that we like. And so I'm going to start out talking about, coming from my love of Disney, we are going to talk about Mickey's Christmas Carol. Now, this is technically a short, or featurette, as they might call it. I think it's 23 minutes long, and it tells the story of the Christmas Carol. And it has, I mean, how perfect can it be when you have a character in your library named Scrooge? It's perfect for doing a Christmas Carol. And they have, of course, Scrooge McDuck to play Scrooge. Mickey playing Bob Cratchit. You have Scrooge playing Scrooge, obviously. And you have Goofy as Jacob Marley's ghost, which is a lot of fun.
Oh my God, that's just that image now in my head. It's like, oh man, that ought to be fun.
yeah, he's kind of falling all over the place and everything. And this is a good way to sort of introduce your kids to Christmas Carol. It's not too scary. Like, some of the versions are pretty scary. The ending scene is pretty intense. It's pretty emotional with Scrooge in the grave, and he's like clinging on to the, to make, I will change.
Oh.
and that plays nephew Fred.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have, so he's really chipper and happy and everything, of course. You have Pete, from the Goofy pantheon, playing Future, the giant playing Christmas Present. Yeah, and he's from Mickey and the Beanstalk.
I remember that short, actually. Now that you mention it, it just popped back into my memory. It's
pretty hilarious. I don't really like Fun and Fancy Free, the movie that it's from.
That's where I saw it from, yeah.
Yeah, you just want to watch just that short. You get to see some other characters that you don't get to see that often. Like, you have Mole and I guess it's Mole and Rat playing from the Mr. Toad short, coming in. They play the benefactors seeking money for the poor. So it's just really fun. Like, it just gathers a whole bunch of different characters, and they tell the story pretty well. You see a little bit of past, which is Jiminy Cricket, and you see present, and you see a little bit of future. Of course, they have to cut out a lot because it's only 23 minutes, and I think it's actually pretty well written. I really like when Scrooge says, well, you realize if you give money to the poor, they won't be poor anymore. And if they aren't poor anymore, then you won't have to raise money for them. And you, too, will be out of a job. Oh, please, gentlemen, don't ask me to put you out of a job.
That's interesting.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I also I thought this was a really good line where Scrooge says, you work all your life to get money, and then people want you to give it away. And it's interesting because it is true that like, for any other kind, because he happens to work in finance, any other type of work, nobody would ever expect you to just give it away. You know, it's kind of an interesting point, I think. Like if you were a painter, people don't just expect you to just give away paintings. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting point. And it's fun. And so, yeah, and he's pretty sarcastic, Scrooge McDuck in this. You know, he says to Jiminy Cricket, "I thought you'd be taller." And Jiminy says, "If men were measured by kindness, you'd be no bigger than a speck of dust." And Scrooge says, "Kindness is of little use in this world." So
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the big theme of this version of Christmas Carol is all about sort of kindness, as opposed to particularly like Christ or real, like it's about Scrooge learning to be kind to his fellow man. That's sort of the take they have on it. Okay. And so yeah, you have Belle, played by Daisy, of course.
Okay.
And that's good. And because you got to have, it's sort of weird though, because this is the only time I think that Daisy is not with Donald. Sort of.
Oh.
Shocking. Yeah. Shocking in the Disney world, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And I thought, this actually sounds pretty legit.
Oh, it is. It's really good. It's very, very good. I mean, I'm a huge Christmas Carol fan, but this is one of my favorite versions. It's really solid, and I like the music in it. It's actually really good. And
when did it come out?
It was like 1983 or 4. It came out. They re-released the Rescuers in 1983. They re-released the Rescuers, and they put this in front of the Rescuers. And it's so funny because everybody's freaking out about the fact that Olaf's Frozen Adventure is in front of Coco, which I thought was really cool, actually. But Disney has had longer shorts ahead of their films before. And so I think they were just kind of experimenting with something. They're trying something. But yeah, this is an example of a longer short, over 20 minutes, that was before a feature film. And nobody seemed to care.
Yeah, shorts usually, when I think of shorts, like maybe like 5-10 minutes long or something like that. I don't think. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they still do the 20-minute thing, but
they tried. They tried to do it, and it didn't really work. So I think it's a bit of a shame, because it could have been really cool to have featurettes, before, like longer featurettes. And I would love that to start a new trend personally, but I guess I'm in the minority. On DVD, on Blu-ray, they have like 4 or 5 additional shorts, which are solid and entertaining. So I recommend actually getting the Blu-ray / DVD if you get a chance. It's really fun.
All right. So with probably one of the greatest films of all time, and I hear the music for it sometimes on the radio around the holidays, and it always kind of made me go, why do we hear music from this? This is not a Christmas movie, but you know what? If we are going to go that way, I can watch it at Christmas time. It is The Sound of Music.
One of my favorites.
With Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Those of you who don't know the story, it's a story about a nun, or I think she's training to be a nun in the monastery or the convent or whatever that is. A woman named Maria, living in Austria, a couple of years before World War II. She's kind of a free spirit, I guess, if you will. She's a very devout Christian, very devout Catholic, but long story, I mean, she often misses out on a lot of stuff that involves the monastery or the convent. Or I went to Catholic school. I should know some of these terminologies, but I don't. And I think she's trying to figure her place out, and Reverend Mother, whatever her name is, I guess the head of the nuns or whatever, she decides to send her to this family, the Von Trapp family. The father is I forget his first name, but Captain Von Trapp.
What is this? It's just Captain Von Trapp.
Von Trapp. Captain Von Trapp, yeah. Played by the great Christopher Plummer.
Yes.
Who's part of the Austrian Navy or something like that, and he's very strict because of his wife passing away, and he imposes like a strict militaristic rule on his children.
7 children.
7 kids. Oh, yeah. And I still remember the first time I saw this movie, and when she goes, 7 children, I go, oh, boy, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But she agrees to go, and it's as the title gives it away. It's a musical, but there are also, and I'm not a big fan of musicals in general. I think a lot of times they kind of overdo it with the singing, or the stories are just kind of or too cliche for my liking. An example that comes to mind is Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise and Alec Baldwin. The movie itself was fine, but Tom Cruise is the best part. But that's a whole different discussion. But the thing that whenever I watch it, Sound of Music, the opening number when Julie Andrews is out in the field like that in the middle of like the plains in Austria, and she starts singing "The Hills Are Alive," and it sucks you right in, and it never gets old. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
This movie's over 50 years old, and it's still, I mean, the fact that it manages to get you into that moment, it's indescribable.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's considered a holiday film because for some reason NBC aired it every year for like 40, 50 years for some reason during the holidays. And I'm going to try to go on Saturday. They're having a sing-along at our local theater of it, and I think that would be really fun. But I mean, it just shows what a good movie it is, because I never realized until I went to it on the big screen last year that it is so long. It's almost 3 hours long, but I never felt that way. I watched it when I was a kid all the time just because I loved it so much. It's one of my favorite movies, period. By Maria von Trapp is a snooze. It is not a good book.
Really?
No, it's very boring. And then they made it into a better Broadway musical. And then when they made the movie, they made it even better than the Broadway musical, because the Broadway musical was written for Mary Martin, who was a big star at the time, but she had a very limited range. Okay. And so the songs were fairly weren't that they didn't have that much range, and they're fairly the same. They all sounded kind of the same. And they made the Baroness and Max way more sinister characters, because there's 2 songs that they sing, which definitely make them more scheming, more plotting, and they're not the greatest songs. So they got rid of those for the movie, which was brilliant. And they changed things around. So in the stage version, she sings the goat herder song when the kids are scared.
Okay.
And she does Do Re Mi later, and they switched that around. I mean, not Do Re Mi, My Favorite Things. And that works so much better for her to do My Favorite Things there when the kids are scared. That just makes more sense. It's so much
kids too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I forget all their names. Liesel, Friedrich, Louisa,
Marta, Louisa, Ernst, Friedrich,
Brigitte, and Gretel.
Yeah. And they're all so good.
Oh yeah.
And I love like 16 going on 17. I love Edelweiss. I think is so great. It's one of my favorite movies. Like I said, I just love it. So good choice. That's a great choice.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I just want to add a few more details.
Yeah, please.
Oh yeah, okay. But some like my favorite songs, like I said, I like Do Re Mi. Mm-hmm. I also like I said, the whole I Have Confidence in Me, like the way she goes, wake up. I always found that really funny, and how she just, it's almost like she kind of did that on the fly for some reason. I don't know why, but the song that How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria?
I
love that beat. The reason why I love that song is because my sister is named Maria, and she's quite a handful, and we always do that just to play around with her, and she'll always give us that I don't want to say the word, but the active B face, if you know what that means.
Yeah. Well, she's so lucky because she gets all the good songs, because there's Maria from West Side Story. I just met a girl named Maria.
I think it's my favorite moment in the movie is when, after Maria goes back to the monastery or whatever, they're starting to sing My Favorite Things, to try to make themselves feel better in some way. But then they say girls and light rashes and blue sand sashes, and as they're singing, they slowly start to hear Maria singing along with it, and all going, "What? Is that her?" And they see that it's her, and I love it. It's when you start to hear her voice, I get goosebumps from it. It's like she's back. She's back.
So good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
love also the scene where her and the captain are dancing.
That is good. Yeah.
So good. It's a great, great movie. One of my all-time favorites. It's definitely in my top 10. I love it. So I'm with you there on that for sure. I could talk about Sound of Music all day. I really
Have you done a video on it yet?
No.
Okay. I was going to say.
Have to. That would be fun.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your full thoughts.
Yeah, that would be really fun. And it's interesting too because Christopher Plummer his singing was actually dubbed, and you could not tell at all. And
really?
So when people are like against dubbing now in movies like La La Land or whatever, it's like it was the only time that you notice dubbing is when it's done badly. Like nobody notices it in Sound of Music, and so I would rather have good singing.
Yeah.
And anyway, so my next choice is called This Christmas. This was from 2007, and I feel like this is a movie that is very easy to kind of judge on the cover and just be like, oh, that's like a Tyler Perry movie. It's not going to be that good. And it's an ensemble African-American cast, but it's a great cast. They have Delroy Lindo, Idris Elba, Loretta Devine, Chris Brown. The list goes on and on and on. Regina King is in it. And so a lot of great actors are in it. And basically sort of the message of you have all these different storylines for all these different characters in this family. And one of the main things is, so Loretta Devine plays sort of the mother of the family, and she's been dating this Delroy Lindo for a long time. She has all of these sons and daughter, and she doesn't want the oldest son to be pursuing, and she doesn't want any of her sons to be pursuing music, because that's what sort of led her husband, their father, like away from the family. And so she doesn't want that. And of course, you've got Chris Brown, who, this was when he was just young. He was like 19. Anyway, and so he really wants to sing, but he's doing it like in secret because he knows his mother will be against it. Okay. And anyway, you have all these different personalities, and yes, there definitely are the cliched sitcom moments, but there's also a lot of heart and a lot of genuine funny moments. And it's just the kind of thing that I like to watch at Christmas, something that's about family, something that feels good, something that's funny, and in the end has a really nice message and has some good songs, great soundtrack. And
I didn't know about that. And Delroy Lindo, you said?
Yes.
Okay, I saw him in the Cider House Rules with Michael Caine and Tobey Maguire.
Okay, yeah.
He plays like a minor supporting character, I don't know. And Regina King, I obviously know from Jerry Maguire and the TV show Southland. And who else was it? Chris Brown, you said? The singer Chris Brown?
Singer Chris Brown, yeah. Like I said, this is when he was just a youngin', so like he hadn't gone down a dark path.
Okay, before all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was just like 19, and yeah.
Who else is in it again?
It's got Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Oh, yeah.
He's in it. Loretta Devine, and a whole bunch of other people you probably recognize, but maybe not know the names. But it's just about this family, everybody getting together for Christmas. It's also about how like food sort of brings back memories and how Christmas traditions bring back memories, and it's not like reinventing the wheel. I don't want to like oversell it or something, but like it's just really pleasant, funny, well acted little family Christmas comedy, which I enjoy very much.
Okay, yeah. Another Christmas comedy you just made me think of, it came to mind, was The Family Stone.
Yeah.
Parker and Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah. This is a lot more pleasant, in my opinion. And that one, I don't hate it. I don't hate The Family Stone, but I feel like it has a lot of sort of shrill characters who are kind of unpleasant.
I guess, yeah.
You know? And I feel like they're a little tough on Sarah Jessica Parker's character. And
I feel that way too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't love that one, but it's not awful, but I think this is better. This is more pleasant, in my opinion.
With Lethal Weapon.
Ah, okay.
By Richard Donner from 1987. It's been a little while since I've watched it, so I'm going to I don't have any notes, which I think you have notes, if I can tell.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
that's okay. Just
all right,
I've never seen it, so just tell us about it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's got Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. It's like I think it's the quintessential buddy cop action film. It's set during Christmas time, and just a little just a little note for anyone who's watching. I tried to pick movies that are set during Christmas time, or like maybe winter theme movies that you can watch during the winter time. Yeah. If that makes sense. One of them, we're going to be talking about that later. I've already done a review on it. But anyway, Lethal Weapon. It's directed by Richard Donner, who did Superman, yes, with Christopher Reeve, and a couple episodes of The Twilight Zone, if I'm not mistaken. Not that I've ever watched the show, but let's see. Mel Gibson plays a cop in the LAPD named Martin Riggs, who is dealing with a personal loss, and he's partnered with Danny Glover's character Roger Murtaugh, and who's dealing with similar problems of his own, like in the fact that he's getting older, and one of his famous lines, "I'm getting too old for this."
Yeah.
Danny Glover, I've always liked Danny Glover, and he adds a lot of good humor to the movie. And Mel Gibson, look, say what you want about him and his personal life and the racial remarks he made, and I'm not condoning him for that, but you got to admit, the guy's a great actor, and he's a great director too. And this is probably one of his best acting outings I've ever seen, because there's a certain scene where he's kind of pondering killing himself, and it gets a little intense. And actually, when I first saw this, I remember it very vividly. I literally was shaking because I thought, don't do it. Don't do it. But and there's a scene where oh God, I'm going to laugh. When he is trying to talk down this guy who's trying to jump off a ledge. He's trying to calm him down, but the guy just won't listen to him. And all of a sudden, he just grabs him and goes, "Do you want to jump? Do you really want to jump?" And he's got that crazy look in his eyes. And Mel Gibson, you got to give him credit for that. He gets the crazy eye look down to a T.
Yeah,
because I think he's a little bit of a nut in real life, and I guess that just kind of feeds into some of the characters he plays.
Yeah,
but when you really break it down, he's dealing with a lot of emotion, and I guess it's like that two opposites attract kind of thing, and they don't really want to work together, but they kind of have to, and they have to solve this. I think it's a drug smuggling ring of some kind. It's run by a man named Jack Joshua, played by Gary Busey, who's the main antagonist, and I think it's a really good movie. And there's some of the action's a bit intense, particularly out in there's a scene in the desert where Martin Riggs has got a sniper rifle on one of the bad guys, and Roger Murtaugh is trying to exchange a hostage with certain money or something, and it's a pretty intense movie. And there's some torture scenes. If you're sensitive to it, it gets a little disturbing some of the time. Like dealing with water and electricity, it's a little hard to watch. It's a little violent. Actually, it's pretty violent, actually. But really, it's a really fun movie. It's very funny. It's a lot of emotion, as I said, and especially with Mel Gibson's character, Martin Riggs. So if you're interested, if you haven't seen it yet, give it a try.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I've heard good things about that one. I just haven't seen it. But so my next pick is The Family Man, starring Nicolas Cage. Speaking of crazy eyes.
Oh, God.
And have you seen it?
Oh, a long time ago, but I do remember specific moments, like when he wakes up and he realizes that it's not the same world, and he gets Don Cheadle said, "Please tell me what's happening without the mumbo jumbo," or something or other. I don't know.
Hilarious. So funny. Taya Leone. So basically, like, Nicolas Cage is this like high-powered broker person, and he is like driving a Corvette and just like super pumped, and he had this like college girlfriend played by Taya Leone, and one day after he's being super grumpy, he wakes up and he's living in like the suburbs, and he's married to Taya Leone and has 2 kids and drives a minivan. It's like this horror story for him at first, and then he starts to become slowly more attached, and starts to change him and everything. And of course, the whole time that this isn't real. And so, like, he's gonna wait. He's gonna be becoming so attached to these things, and then of course he's gonna wake up and be in the
back to his normal
other life. And so, how's he gonna make this all work? And It's just really charming. He's really warm in it, really sweet. It is funny, like you're saying. He's very funny. Don Cheadle's funny. It'll make you laugh. And it is PG-13, but it does have a little bit of adult content, but it's pretty good. And so I like it. So Family Man.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember certain parts, like I said, when he wakes up and some of the talks he's had with Don Cheadle's character. But I think one moment that kind of, I think if I'm going to talk about one thing, it's the way it ends. When he runs into Tia Leone, he tells her, "Don't get on the plane," and he tells him about the life that they have, and she kind of stops for a moment. And I think the way it ends, it's kind of like, it's not like they're together and they have a family, but it's like it's almost like it kind of plants the seeds for it to go forward in the future. I guess that's just the way I see it personally. It's just like a somber and a slightly hopeful ending. It's Iron Man 3.
Yes. So what do you like about Iron Man 3?
Okay. Now, well, first of all, this is actually, I forgot to mention earlier with Lethal Weapon, Shane Black wrote the screenplay for it, if I'm not mistaken. If not the whole thing. He directed Iron Man 3. Right. And Iron Man 3 is set during the winter Christmas time. But it's in Die Hard. It's like Die Hard in one specific way. You can watch it any time of the year because it's set in California. Some of it's set in California where it's warm most of the year. But it takes place after the events of the first Avengers. Tony Stark is dealing with a lot of anxiety about what he saw in the Battle of New York, and went up into a big hole in the sky and saw the alien fleet coming down, and he's trying to struggle with the fact that he may have to deal with that one day.
Yeah.
This new villain shows up on the scene, the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, but that turns out to not be the case at all, if you haven't seen it by now. But I am going to be spoiling certain details. So, and I know Rachel does have some stuff to say, but just bear with me. Let's see. Okay, yeah, he shows up and I guess poses a threat to Iron Man. Again, this one's been a little while since I've seen it, but I do remember since he basically gave away his identity in the first Iron Man, he says, "You know what? You want me? You come and get me." And that's what happens. And his house is destroyed. And it's like The Dark Knight Rises. He kind of loses everything and he's on his own. And he has to rebuild his suit with the help of this young kid played by Ty Simpkins, who I think is really, really funny, but slightly kind of annoying, just in the wrong way, just slightly. But he's trying to solve the mystery of who the Mandarin is by tracking down these people who work for the Mandarin. And I think he goes to Tennessee at one point where it's obviously, it's cold, and my mom's from Tennessee, so she can say that, it definitely does snow down there. So, and studying the mystery of a soldier who was killed in Afghanistan during the Afghanistan war or Iraq or something. And Tony eventually catches up with the Mandarin, but it turns out it's not the Mandarin at all. In fact, the Mandarin's not real. Ben Kingsley, who plays him, is just a complete wacko. And the real guy is played by Guy Pearce, if I'm not mistaken. Guy Pearce, yeah. It was basically that fanboy turned bad guy, which we saw in The Incredibles and Batman Forever and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which don't get me started on that. But but Guy Pearce I thought was fine, but there's a point in the final battle when once Tony Stark overcomes his anxiety, which I do kind of like that. Oh, bless you. Sorry. That's okay. Where he overcomes his anxiety, the kid, I forget the kid's name, but he tells him, look, think about this or something or other, and he learns how to, play that in his head, and he's able to refocus himself. And
so I totally get that. I think it's a good recommendation. I'm glad we're throwing that out there, something different. But it is my least favorite Marvel movie, believe it or not. I know a lot of people say Iron Man 2, but I think I just can watch Iron Man 2 and enjoy it more. I'm not a twist person. I hate Shyamalan movies. I hate big twists like that. It's just not my thing usually, very rarely. And so the Mandarin twist was so lame to me. I really didn't like it. You had an interesting character and then you switch it out for another villain in a suit. That was so dumb. And I mean, how many Marvel villains can we possibly have that are these men in a suit? It's but I did like Tony with his anxiety and dealing with that. And I thought that Robert Downey Jr. was very good at kind of portraying panic attacks and portraying anxiety in a realistic way. I think he was great. I like his interactions with the kid pretty well. I think they're pretty good. And so it's not terrible. And I guess that says something about what I think about the other. I mean, I don't know. This one or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 are my least favorite. I really didn't care for that one either.
Twist is, I think I do remember, I was away in Fort Lee, Virginia for military training when the movie came. And a lot of my classmates or my fellow soldier trainees were going to see it on the weekends when we had off. And I was hearing that there's a certain point in the movie that fans aren't going to like. And I thought, okay, what happens? And when I saw the movie, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, some fans are not going to like that at all. And I will admit, I thought Ben Kingsley did a pretty good job of, acting like a weirdo, but not completely overdoing it. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, dude, chill out. I get it.
It is called Christmas in Connecticut. It's a movie from 1945, so it's right during like the heat of the war. And it has the feel of like an old Preston Sturges romantic comedy, old school romantic comedy. And it stars Barbara Stanwyck, and she plays this modern woman who lives in the city in an apartment and whatever. She has this kind of dopey boyfriend or whatever. And she writes under a pseudonym, and she writes all of these family and housekeeping columns where she's giving advice on how to cook and how to take care of your kids and how to, and all this stuff. And it's totally she's kind of just BSing it, like, for lack of a better. And because she obviously is a single woman, she doesn't know how to cook at all. She doesn't know how to, but she's writing all this stuff about like Christmas in Connecticut with the roast lamb and the family gathered around the fireside, blah, 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 just making it really sound perfect and everything. Well, this soldier reads her articles, and when he is, and it kind of gets him through the war. And when he's on leave, he basically like writes to them and says, it would mean nothing more to me to be able to spend a Christmas with this writer. And so the publisher decides, the newspaper decides they're going to like fake it. And so she ends up going down to Connecticut and and pretending to be this like housewife and with this house, and this is trying to trick the soldier, who of course is super dreamy and lovely and whatever. And and it's really funny because like, so there's these women in town who work at this factory, and so they provide sort of the baby. and but she like supposedly is her baby, but she's just like taking care of it during the day while they're working in the factory. And like each day it's like a different baby. And so like the soldier's like, yeah, because the soldier like ends up changing diapers and stuff. And one day he's like, this is not the same baby, this is a different baby. And she's just like, she just fudges it in really funny ways, and it's really cute. It's a really cute movie. Yeah, and there's all these shenanigans when she's like trying to cook, and when she's trying to. It's a movie that's been sort of copied a lot, especially by places like Hallmark and stuff like that. But in romantic comedies, but it's very charming. It's very funny. It's very romantic. There's good chemistry, and like there's classic scenes with them like in they're like going through on a one horse sleigh and getting all cozy and everything. There's like snow and of course it's a little awkward because he thinks she's like married and stuff, and there's all this like chemistry. But I also love the fact that like when he finds out, he's just like, well, let's just get married. There's not all this. I hate in these kind of movies when they're like, you lied to me. How could you lie to me? Like all this stuff. I hate that.
Yes.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
It's the first thing that came to mind. Okay, eventually he's going to figure this out. It's not the same baby.
Yeah. Well, and also because like he's expecting her to be like perfect and all this stuff and be like this great chef, and there's all these articles, and so the fact that she sucks at like raising it, like she can't even change a diaper, is really funny. So
is what I would call a winter theme movie. You can, I think you could watch it at Christmas time, but you could also watch it in like January, February, or March. Winter months, if what have you. And it is a classic sci-fi film. There's a sequence. The first third of it, I would say, takes place in the snow, but I think overall it has like a cold vibe to it, I guess, which is the tone of the movie, and you can watch it in the wintertime. You can watch it in the summertime, but I think it fits in the winter. It is Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back.
Nice. I really like how your picks are sort of out of the box, something different, because I think people sometimes get bored of the classic Christmas movies and want something sort of different.
And I found it kind of hard to sit through the Yoda scenes, and I found it kind of boring. But as I got older, I started to I appreciate them, for Luke's character development, and the scene where Luke goes into the cave and he has that hallucination. As a kid, I had no idea what that was about. But now that we've seen the other films, I totally get it, because it foreshadows not only his heritage, but what he could possibly become if he was not careful. And seeing his face inside Darth Vader's helmet when it exploded, I kind of have a similar reaction that Mark Hamill's acting does in that scene. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I love the Battle of Hoth sequence. That sequence is so saying it's iconic doesn't quite cover it, but
yeah,
the AT-AT walkers still look great, like 37 years later. And I read somewhere I think I saw a documentary that George Lucas took ideas from elephant legs moving around, one foot forward, the back foot forward, one other front foot, and so on. And he used those movements to try to incorporate it into the walkers' movements, which I thought was a really clever idea. And the other stuff on Hoth, like when Luke gets trapped in that Wampa cave and Han Solo has to go out and find him, it's one of those things where you can definitely feel like you're getting cold because of the way the snow and the wind is blowing and everything. And I have to admit, when I was about 12 years old, me and my friend, we were big Star Wars fans growing up. We would sometimes reenact the Battle of Hoth in the snow. It was like, here come the walkers, fire, fire. We would build our own trenches and act like we were getting ambushed by Imperial snowtroopers and whatnot. So it kind of played it has a little special place in that regard. But I think it's a really good movie, like for Luke to discover, go to deeper, darker places, try to getting closer to being a Jedi and eventually finding out that Vader is his father.
Most epic reveal ever. It'll never get more epic.
No, I don't think it will. And the fact that it was originally going to be Obi-Wan that killed Luke's father, I think that would have been a pretty good twist, but this was even better. I mean, I still don't remember what my first response was, because I sort of remember first seeing it, but I don't remember how I reacted to it. But I do, if you've seen other YouTube videos of kids going, what?
Movie, one of my favorites. For a long time, the original Star Wars was my favorite. And it's still one of my favorites. I still love it. And just because it's more of like a movie that you just like cheer and you're just like, yes, woohoo! And that's more sort of my style. But I do think that Empire Strikes Back is the best made of the series. I think it is the best movie. But as far as entertainment value, my favorite is either the first one or Force Awakens are my favorite. And I feel
when Luke goes into the carbon freezing chamber, and he comes out from the floor and he starts to walk around, the door closes and there's no music. He looks down, he kind of looks around, and he looks at his blaster, he puts it away. Just the suspense that builds up to Vader showing up. It's like the way he looks at his blaster. Chris Stuckman said this in his review. It's basically him saying, this isn't going to do me any good in here. And it's like, oh my God, he knows that he's in trouble. And when he turns to look at Vader, said, the Force is with you, Skywalker, but you're not a Jedi yet. My body's literally just like, my hair stands up all over my body. And the way his costume looks, Darth Vader's costume looks among the blue light.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful to look at. The cinematography in that scene is gorgeous. Good.
Yeah, and Lando Calrissian is such a fun character.
Billy D. Billy D's
always good. So it's so good. I love it. So I'm totally with you there. So my last pick is I've been immersed in Hallmark movies this year with the Hallmarkies podcast that I've been doing. So I thought only appropriate that I give my favorite Hallmark movie, Christmas movie ever, as one of my picks this year. And so we're going to talk about Trading Christmas. And this is a movie that I think you could release in the theaters, and I think people would like it. And it's similar to, did you ever see the movie The Holiday with Kate Winslet?
Oh, yeah. I saw like maybe the first half of it, but I've never finished the whole thing.
You didn't like it? Well, so it's similar premise to that movie, but I think it's as good, if not better, to be honest. It stars Tom Cavanaugh, who is completely charming and I love.
Oh, Reverse Flash, Dr. Harrison Wells from the Flash TV show. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you got my...
Yes, and it has Faith Ford, who you probably would recognize. She was on Murphy Brown. She was on a bunch of different shows for a long time. She's been around and been in a lot of stuff. She's really good. And she plays this teacher who is frustrated, and she decides she's going to go surprise her daughter, and she's going to switch houses for Christmas break. Well, and she ends up finding, it's one of those house switching websites or whatever. And so she switches with this Tom Cavanaugh character who's like this writer who's like blocked. He's got this writer's block. And so they switch, and it turns out her daughter is actually going away. And so she ends up not being there. So she's kind of lonely, but she can't go back because he's in her house. And so she's there in, I think, Philadelphia, Anyway. And Tom Cavanaugh's brother, played by Gil Bellows, he comes by to like see who's in the house or to check up on, I can't remember. Anyway, and they just start talking, they hit it off, and there's such chemistry between the two of them. Huge chemistry. And Gabrielle Miller plays a younger sort of friend of the Faith Ford character that I think they were like both teachers together or whatever. Anyway, so they're friends, and so she decides to make a surprise visit to Faith Ford's house, but it turns out, of course, she's gone, and Tom Cavanaugh is there, and the two of them end up spending all this time together, and they have great chemistry, really good, and she even kind of helps him on his book and whatever, and it's really cute. It's really well done. It's got some heart to it because the Faith Ford character has never really gotten over the death of her husband, and so her having this sort of new relationship is kind of helping her to do that. Her daughter is really cute. Her played by Emma Lahana, and it has Andrew Francis, who's one of my favorite Hallmark actors. He's great. And it's just a delight. It's really heartwarming, romantic, great chemistry, well-written, lovely little fun movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You said it was a recent, like it came out this year?
No, it came out in 2011.
Oh.
But it's my favorite. It's my favorite Hallmark movie. I honestly think I might like it even more than The Holiday.
Oh, really?
But I mean, it's just G-rated, though. Like all the Hallmark movies. So it's G-rated, but they do kiss a lot. So that's fun.
Okay.
And it's just lovely. I love Tom Cavanaugh. I love Gil Bellows. I love Faith Ford. I like the whole cast I love.
Okay.
And so, yeah, give it a shot.
Okay.
I think that if you have any openness to romantic comedies, I think you'll like it.
Okay.
So that's my last pick.
All right. Last pick. It is definitely a Christmas movie.
All right.
It is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen from 1994.
Nice.
Yeah, this one, I never realized it, like the last two times I never brought it up, but for those of you who don't know, Tim Allen plays a man named Scott Calvin, who's a toy company executive of some kind. I'm not too sure. He's divorced. He lives in Chicago. He's going to spend the Christmas Eve with his son Charlie, and his ex-wife and her husband, who is, I don't know the actor's name, but I think he was in the first Beverly Hills Cop.
Judge Reinhold, isn't that I think that's his name.
I think so, yeah. He's one of the cops that meets Eddie Murphy when he gets thrown out the window. So that's a different story. But he's distant from his son, Scott Calvin, and I guess he's kind of wrapped up. I don't know. I think he might be wrapped up in his job. I don't know. But he and his son don't have the greatest father-son relationship, and he tries to bond with his son by taking him out to dinner, but it doesn't really go so well. He takes him out to Denny's instead because he burns the turkey or something. I remember that fire extinguisher scene more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, those flames were really big, Dad. Yeah, turkey's funny that way. Dad, hey. But he hoses it down so much that he can't eat it, and it's so burnt. But when on Christmas Eve night, Santa shows up on the roof, and I still like that scene, like when you could hear the sleigh bells, but you don't see the sleigh and the reindeer just yet.
Yeah.
And then the big thud on the roof, Charlie's like, what the heck's going on? And he listens, and Scott, of course, thinks it's an intruder, so he goes and he scares Santa off the roof, and he falls into the snow, and he reads the card that he finds on Santa's body. Something should happen to me. Put on my suit. The reindeer will know. We'll take care of the rest.
It's the Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, yeah, because he reads that, the original Santa disappears.
Yeah.
Which I always thought, in a similar fashion with Obi-Wan Kenobi's body disappearing into thin air when Darth Vader kills him. So, and I always found that kind of weird, though. Like, wait a minute, where did he go? And how come nobody remembers it? I don't know, but it's. I mean, but he ends up like delivering the presents all across like Chicago and I guess the whole country. I don't know, or the world maybe. But
yeah.
But then he finds himself kind of locked into this contract, if you will, as the head elf Bernard has him read the clause, putting on the suit, the Santa sleigh, reindeer, blah blah blah, and he sees the North Pole. His son's like eating this all. He's eating this all up. He's loving it. And then when he wakes up, he assumes it was all a dream. But his son insists that it actually happened. And then he slowly starts to notice these changes happening to him. Like his body starts to get heavier, and his hair starts to get grayer and whiter, and he starts growing a beard. He tries shaving it, but he keeps growing back so fast. And then finally, he becomes Santa Claus, and his ex-wife and her husband are going, "What are you doing? This is weird. This is weird." And then, but really at its core, it's about someone trying to accept who he is, I guess, what he's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually makes him a better person. And I think that the line that sums it up is at the end when he has to say goodbye to Charlie, when he has to go out and deliver the presents, and his son doesn't want to leave him because he finally feels that his dad is who he envisioned him to be, I guess, but he never knew it. He said, "Hey, Charlie, listen to me. You believed in me when nobody else did. You helped make me Santa, and I will forever be grateful to you for that," or whatever he says. That I kind of like father-son moments that are like that, where they finally get a chance to connect on some level.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it always, because my dad and I don't have the greatest father-son relationship, and seeing him say that in that scene, I think it touches me somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a really nice scene. It has a nice heart to it. It's one of those Christmas movies you kind of just have to enjoy. You can't like overthink it. Obviously, it's just a silly little movie, but it's a lot of fun. And Tim Allen is good at that kind of comedy, and it just has a good heart to it. I don't think we needed 2 sequels. I'll tell you that, but I think this one's a nice one.
Yeah, but one of my favorite moments is when he's in the meeting and he's got sweats on and he's sticking out like a sore thumb of other executives. But when the one executive, he's got like the paintings or something of Santa riding in a German tank or something, and he goes, "Well, isn't that a pretty picture? Santa rolling down the block in a Panzer. Oh, kids are looking good this year. It looks like we're going to hit the Pearson Hall. Incoming!"
That's funny. Yeah. No, there are a lot of funny lines, and it works well. It's good. It's a lot of fun. I think it's one that the whole family can watch and really enjoy.
Yeah,
so it's a good choice.
Yeah, and like I said, like it does have like a sense of awe and wonder to it when they go inside the North Pole. Like they go underground, and they're all looking around and everything.
Like Santa stories, like that. It's just fun for the holidays.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's a good pick. All right. Well, good. We did it. Another year. So
yes.
Next year it's going to be even harder, but we'll find a way. We'll find a way. There's like just Christmas Carol alone. There's like 30 versions. So I'm good. Next year I can like talk about the Patrick Stewart one or whatever. So it should be fun.
Starting now until next Christmas, I'm going to try to pick different picks.
Yeah, I know. We got to start thinking about it early nowadays.
Yes.
So, well, thanks so much for joining me. This is so fun. And so where can people find you?
You can find me at my YouTube channel, Joe Tufano, and you can follow the links to my Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram there. Instagram.
Yeah, I'll have them in the description section too.
Yeah. You could just go. You could go to the link in Rachel's description for this video, but you could find me on Joe Tufano on YouTube.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks again, and you can find me at Smiling Yellow the Yes Girl on social media, and you can follow me on iTunes. Now we're on Rachel's Reviews, and also check out the Hallmarkies podcast. It's something I'm really proud of. We've been doing the 33 original new films, Christmas films that Hallmark is putting out this year. So it's pretty intense, but I'm really having a blast. So I'll put a link down to that. Definitely check it out. I think you'll really like it. And I just love Christmas movies. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
So thanks again, and we will have to talk again soon.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye.